what you're standing in now was the second addition to the building, and it was just this gym that in 1955 they built this. And I'll walk you through, but we have done some upgrades in here, but right now we use this as our cafeteria, our multi-purpose room. Because of COVID, and you'll see when we go through some classrooms, we've really cleared our classrooms out to make it safe for our students. So we're staging a lot of things in here, and normally this is a functioning room. So just to give you an idea of what our infrastructure looks like, in the early 1990s, we were one of the first school districts to get the O'Hare noise money. So what we did was we had all new windows put in, soundproofing, and then we took, come on up, I'll show you.
Once you had,
and you'll tell as we walk through the building the variance of heat. So what we did is, this is our original roof line here. So just like a Chicago bungalow, we ran ductwork, and this is like this on the other side of the building, to accommodate for heating and cooling, rooftop units, and then they put another roof over that. So part of the problem we have now is this is obviously 30 years plus old, and this roof is also leaking. So we might get water either from the roof above or water from the system here. It pools, and then we can't get anyone in here to fix this. So part of the referendum we're looking at doing, a big portion of it, is replacing all of this. Because right now, if something breaks, they're rigging it because we can't even get parts for it anymore. So Elaine could probably elaborate a little bit on.
yeah, because so they have like heating coils there, just to run through the ductwork, and then we have radiant heat, which you can see right here throughout the building. And there's also like old roof drains. They probably were kind of abandoned or just piped into it. And all the pipes are, it's just hard to get to the pneumatics. Some of them are pneumatics, some are electronics, valves in there. And you can see that the valves, they just look like they're at least 20 years old. And some of them are been changed, but they haven't. It's just not easy, and it's not as, it's not working properly because the controls are getting old. And I'm assuming that's where it comes to the issue where they're like, well, we gotta remodify it. It's gonna cost a lot of money to remodify this whole coil to heat. It's just gonna be heating. It's not even cooling, because the cooling part is on the roof. It's just like a condenser coil on the roof, and it doesn't heat. This is our heat for right here. You can see the coil there. So
we do have a metal roof that we have been repairing through the years. I have some pictures downstairs. The problem that we have is once we replace the units on that, you're cutting into the, you have to retrofit, and then the integrity of the roof is compromised. So we continually spend, there have been years that we've spent up to $20,000 working on the roof, and we're just basically patching it. We're not, so that would be the other thing. We would completely redo all this, and then be able to put a whole new roof on that will accommodate the new units, and hopefully resolve any leaking or problems that we have with that. So just to give like an idea of what, when we have people come to work on our HVAC, it's double because that's what they're,
Trying to get in. No, I understand.
Right. That were not ADA. We were having a lot of plumbing issues, water fountains that weren't working. We tested positive for lead. So we funded a project through local money, and then we did get a $50,000 grant through the Illinois State Board of Ed. So our hope was to do that over 2 phases, but we couldn't find anyone that would bid it over. It was just too small of a project. No one wants to do a $200,000 project when you can do a $1 million project in another school district. So we saved money up for about 3 years. We went out to bid, so we were able to have this project done over the summer. So I'll walk you through. basically what we did was we took, this is the teacher, the faculty lounge. So it's not like we're not doing things
Right.
here. So they completely abated, we had a lot of asbestos in here, they did a complete abatement. We did have plumbing on the wall where the clock is, that was no longer working. So they took all this up. They took the concrete up, they redid all the plumbing. While they were doing the concrete, originally all the electric for the original building was running underground. It was not in the spot it said it was in on the plans. So when they were drilling or cutting up the concrete, they did hit the electric line, which was already in a corroded pipe. So that was another expense. It was $25,000 out of our contingency money. We went and reran all the electric, which cost more because we had to run it through those
Right.
small ducts, and we had to tie it into a new panel. But that's something that, you know, was important to us, not to just Band-Aid it, but make sure it's future, because otherwise, if someone else down the road had to access it, they'd have to tear up the floor
Right.
again. So as we're going through, we're trying to correct things and make them modern. So this right now, I mean, like I said, because of COVID, we're very sparse, but this is a huge improvement on what we had. I mean, the teachers didn't even have running water in here before. So then what we did is our nurse's office, the room we're gonna walk into was our nurse's office that had no bathroom, no sink. So we took that and made it a teacher workroom. And the other thing with the nurse's office is the vestibule you walked into, there was a door. So if someone walked into the building, they could access the building. So we've cut that off, so when people come in, you're stuck, we call it a man trap. You're stuck in there, you have to be buzzed into the office, so it's a double buzz. You buzz in through the front door, you get buzzed in again, and then if you go into the school, you have to get buzzed in. So it's a 3 buzz system, so that was a huge upgrade that we did this summer as well. And I can show you, we took, we redid 5 bathrooms, they all look the same. But this was all new plumbing, completely, you know, new floor, and ventilation. So many of our bathrooms do not have any ventilation at all. So even though they're cleaned every day and well maintained, they smell. Because, you know, you've got little kindergartners all the way to 8th graders using a bathroom,
Yeah.
you know. So that was a big upgrade for us. So like I mentioned, we redid plumbing here too. We did the office, got our washer out there. So our school office also, we're starting to see more kids come to us with diabetes, asthma, other issues. So it was really important for us to have a really good nurse's office. So we made it where now there's a bathroom in the office. We ran a support beam above here because we do have kids with disabilities that eventually are gonna need some sort of mechanism to pull them onto a toilet. They need assistance with toileting and as they get older. So we've really thought out as we've been making these upgrades, like what can we do to make it ready for our kids in the future. So this is a huge upgrade, and like I said, the safety aspect. Our school secretary before could never see who is standing outside. Now she can. When people come in, they have to log in through this, any guest. So we're really super focused on that. And in this next project, we would continue that. But just alone, this project was about $750,000. And then the years prior to that, we did about another $250,000 in projects where we put key fobs on the door so we know who's coming and going. Because the past practice was you just had key, but you lose the key and someone gets a hold of it. So now if you lose your fob, we just shut it off. We also had to upgrade, you'll see we have digital clocks in every room. We had the original like Charlie Brown intercom system here. So now our intercom system's through the phone. Every classroom has a phone. If there's a problem, they can call out. It's all zoned, so we worked really closely with the Norwich Police, so they know, if they get a call, they know exactly what classroom it's at, where to respond to. So that's something that we upgraded all local funds. Walk. This is the original part of the building here. How we run the conduit, we can't get up, yeah. So, we've really had to make adjustments as we make upgrades, just because of the age of the building. So, if if you're running internet and cable in a modern day building, you're running it on a ceiling that you can access. Like
Right.
here, it's double the cost. So this is a typical classroom, and you'll feel the variance of temperature. Typically, we would have about 20 to 22 students. We're, because of COVID, now we're broke up. But this is a typical classroom that we have here. This is, this floor here is tile, but underneath it, we still have an asbestos floor. We've done about, I would say about $200,000 in asbestos abatements since 2016. We still have a lot of floors that have the containment, where this isn't friable, it's not dangerous, but if we wanted to redo this floor, you're looking at $30,000 to get in here, do the floor, and then you'll see in some other classrooms where we did that, we couldn't afford to put another floor down, so we just put an epoxy on until we can get to that point. But there's still work that we need to do in every classroom. It still has like the original casing from the 1950s, but it's just very costly to do, because once we touch that, we have to do an abatement of the asbestos. So even though it might only cost us, $10,000 to replace that, you're still peeling that onion, those layers of, you gotta do the floor, you gotta do this, you gotta do that.
Right.
So that's where we're really struggling. Also, I wanna mention, like, you feel the heat variance. We have one thermostat for about every 4 rooms. So one room might be comfortable, but the room next door is running off the thermostat and might be really hot, so there's no way to control it. So we kind of have to rotate which teacher is going to be comfortable that day based on how we're setting the thermostat. So hopefully with the new, if we pass the referendum with the new system, it'll be all, it'll be able to control and much more temperature comfortable. So this is so we have 3 interior rooms here, original to the building. And when they were built, and they obviously have no windows, but when the building was built, we had skylights, and that was covered once we put the HVAC on. So these rooms tend to run really hot and very uncomfortable. You'll feel this one especially.
Oh, yeah, big difference in here.
So I will say, when this was built in 1954, this was a state-of-the-art science lab. I mean, you've got the chemical hood, you've got the burners. None of this works anymore. We can't get parts for this. This is one room that we have a large lead problem with. We can't get the parts for it. It's no longer, like, we've had to shut this down. We have problems with the plumbing in here. It's just, so we had thought when we did the abatement in here, we thought about taking these out, but it would have been way too, it was not even cost effective. So we've left them in. He does use these as like a workstation, but not with this. It's just where kids gather.
Yeah.
So obviously, very outdated. The other thing is, this is used as a middle school science lab, and our middle school is downstairs, so it's just in an awkward position. So part of the referendum money would be to move this and make it a STEM lab and move it onto the lower level where our middle schoolers are. And then this would become our media center, multi-purpose type area, which we use as a community center. Our PTA uses it, and it's more centrally located to the front. So that you'll see where we go down to our media center, we have a lot of activities where we have parent volunteers in throughout the day, and they're just far in the building. We like to try to keep them central. So that would be another upgrade that we'd be doing. I mean, and you can see our classrooms are very clean, and we keep them up. The building's well maintained. So all of our stairwells are like this, very narrow. Obviously today, this is not up to, you know this, we cannot put a lift of any sort on any, and we do not have an elevator. So currently, we do have a student that has a walker. We do put a belt on her and help her up. We have had a student in a wheelchair that teachers have had to carry, which we would no longer do. This was a few years ago. If we had a student in a wheelchair now or with a disability, we would have to move those classes to the first floor, which means right now all our primary kids are on our first floor, which means we have to move preschool, kindergarten up. So that's a huge problem. And you know, we can't deny anyone with a disability, whether it's physical or, so we're really struggling with that.
Right.
So I'll take it up. This is our 1968 edition. When they built this edition, and we have about 10 classrooms, so 150 kids use this wing. They put a single stall toilet in. So we utilize the toilets downstairs, and you'll see what I'm getting at when we get down there. And it's just really congested. So we're looking at part of this referendum money, alleviating that and making it a better bathroom situation. So, like I said, this is our 1968 edition. They basically just built onto the original building. And you'll see our water fountains. It's funny, when we had the last referendum, I had a parent that's a plumber, and he goes, well, I'll just come in and put a new water fountain on. I said, well, it's not just this, it's breaking open the wall. I can guarantee the pipes behind this have asbestos on it, so there's asbestos abatement. It's replumbing it, it's all that, and not to mention, you know, you can't just hire cheap labor in a government building. So we're looking at anywhere from, you know, $20,000 to $30,000 to replace a water fountain.
Right.
And that, you know, it's just not cost, it's a single project just wouldn't be worth it. So I get a lot of flack about the water fountains, and we're just in a standstill until we could do some plumbing work. So this would be a typical classroom here on our second floor. Again, because of COVID, it's not as lively. But you'll see we still have all original fixtures from, you know, the 1960s. While it's well maintained, it's still, we'd like to upgrade it. We do have a sink in here that needs some plumbing attention. And then again, another classroom where we did an asbestos abatement. They had to put, we did a DIY floor on here. So you'll feel even this is one of the classrooms where if it's really hot in here, it's cold for the rest. If she's got the temperature she likes, everyone else is hot. So we struggle with that. You'll see, like, kids will come to school on a cold day bundled up, and by the end of the day they're like in shorts and a t-shirt. So it's just not a good learning environment for our students. So this is the hallway I like to say scares me the most. Like I said, we have 150 kids that utilize the upstairs. And this is a very narrow, dangerous hallway. You'll see we have the radiator here, which exits out into our courtyard, and that's where our gym is. So typically, when kids go to PE, they're coming through this area here and coming across so that they're not going through the hallway over there. It's just not a good setup. So what we would do in this area is we would put a small addition to put locker rooms, open this up so that we'd get rid of the narrow staircase, and we'd be putting an elevator here to accommodate the 3 floors. Be careful about your stuff as you're coming in. So obviously when they built this, it made sense to put the locker rooms here because this was the gym.
Right.
So now, these are our, so I'm going to tell you we're using our locker rooms for storage because kids aren't changing right now, but I'll just walk you through. This is used, the lights turn on here. This is used as the main bathroom for upstairs. So while it's not dirty, it's clean, we have no ventilation and low ceilings, so this would be completely redone and expanded to accommodate for the upstairs. Same with our locker room. There is no ventilation whatsoever. And like I said, we're using it for storage now, but not really safe, very hard to supervise kids. And it's just not, it's not a nice environment, you know? It's not what we would want for our kids today. So this always makes me laugh. When this locker room does have a shower, which we've had to turn off because the plumbing's bad. So the boys get a shower. I guess the girls back in the day, they didn't need to shower. I don't know. So, you know, another area, just no ventilation. You can feel the variance of heat. So our boys' bathroom here, I'm just going to brace you. We put new partitions in and that, but we cannot change the configuration without making it ADA. So obviously not ADA. We've got a couple urinals, 2 stalls, and like I said, 150, 75 boys using this at any time. So all of this area would be completely modernized and rebuilt. So at some point, this classroom was converted into the media center. You'll see they took the wall down in between and made it a large space. So this would be the space that we would be looking at to make the STEM lab. Because we do have water here, we're able to cut in, and it's a big space, and we'd be able to have multi-classes in here, and it would be able to be used by more than just our 6th through 8th graders. So we would be looking at expanding this space, and it would make the most sense because it's on the floor where the rest of our middle school is, and the flow would be better. So looking at doing that. This is another room we did a large asbestos abatement. This had carpet in it over a very bad asbestos floor, and the carpet was tearing up, and it was just a trip hazard. So a couple years ago, we did this room. So it's a big improvement to what it was. Do you have any questions, or?
Well, I'm just, on the referendum money,
10.9.
10.9, that is going to take care of everything that you're showing me right now?
Everything I'm showing you
So
now.
it's all going to the building?
It can only go to the building.
So the building, right?
It's only can go to the building.
Right.
We're not gonna be able to use that money to buy any student materials or any faculty raises.
Is that an estimate that you received from a contractor?
Yes.
or-
Oh, yes. We already have.
So you already,
So that's a great question. So we worked with our architects. We do have a facilities committee. It's got a couple board members and teachers, administrators. We have a few community members that don't have kids here, and then parents. And what we looked at is we looked at 3 different options, or 4 different options, correct? So option 1 was just do the HVAC, and that was about $5 million. Option 2 was what we're looking at now. Option 3 was touching more classrooms, and then and putting a bigger addition on. That was about 18-20 million. And then option 4 was going back to redoing a brand new building. So we surveyed the community on that, and the most comfortable the community was the 10.9. So we have conceptual drawings, but as soon as you hire an architect to do drawings, they're going to charge you. So they just did very basic conceptual drawings so that we could make an informed decision. We have not completely programmed out the drawings, so that would take about 6 months for them to do. So these bathrooms, I will tell you, we've done as much work as we can, but again, you're looking at no ventilation. The big problem we have here is that the plumbing, the main going out to the sewer is bad. So we're rotting it about twice a year. It backs up. They suspect they did go down with the scope. We do have cracks in it. So we need to completely gut both of these bathrooms and redo all the way out to the sewer in the main and redo all the plumbing. So it's a big project. It's not just tearing up and putting new tile and some new sinks and toilets. So we'd be looking at doing this one too. So that's the 10.9. I will show you, we'll finish our tour through the primary wing. We're not going to do any work there. Now this was part of a 1962 edition where they built a couple kindergarten rooms and an additional classroom. Again, all our staircases very narrow. So just to give you an idea, this has a new floor because we did do an abatement in here. But we do have bathrooms, small little bathrooms in here for our kindergartners. We're not going to be able to redo those. We do have a lot of kids still with some toileting needs, so at any given time you've got an adult and a child in there. These walls are all asbestos. We do have like a laminate over them. So that's the problem. If you want to do anything in here, it's not just that. So this is just going to have to wait. This might be a locally funded project, but right now these classrooms are really functional, and the plumbing is still usable. It's not the best. So it didn't make it onto this referendum, onto this list. So this will remain as is.
So the plan, what is it? Is it a 20-year payoff then?
So it's a 20-year payoff.
Okay.
I mean, there's always an option when the bonds become callable to refinance and reduce.
Right. This is very similar to when we originally got done.
Yeah, yes,
It took
very.
us 4 referendums.
Yeah.
To finally get it done, but when it's done, everybody was very,
Right,
very happy.
yeah, and actually our architects that we use are the same architects
Oh,
originally,
yeah.
you know, so.
I'm sure you saw it.
Yeah, oh yeah, I mean, it's
Beautiful.
beautiful. I mean, it's like a brand new high school, so you know what you can do with older structures.
Right, the structure of the building's still fine.
It's, yeah, I think when we went for the original referendum to do a new building, it really was more about the cost and the time to remodel. Because we could have been building a new building while we were still living in this building. So, but you know what, the voters spoke, and I get that, so we went back and reworked it. I'll just share with you, this is still low budget, but this is basically, you know, what our roof looks like. You can see where we've patched it.
Right, right,
And you can see once we start replacing these, we really have to.
right.
So,
No,
yeah, take one of these.
I know where you're talking about here, and
So we did a strategic plan. Actually, Debbie Budnick was part of this.
Oh, good.
And so is Wayne Schroeder. So this is our 5-year strategic plan. And then just some data on where we're at with our kids. So this went out to all the community that lives in Conoyer District. But you'll see, like, our average teacher spending salary compared to the state, we are way below. And same with our spending. So I feel like we've been really reasonable with our money. We just can't ever save money to do these huge projects. I mean, you'd be looking at 10 years of saving to be able just to do the HVAC.
Right.
And what happens if it breaks in between? You know, we're not.
plus the cost
yeah.
keeps on going up.
Yeah, right,
and
right.
More things start
Right.
going wrong.
Right.